We begin today a very challenging, high bar that's set for us by the Alter Rebbe and how to lead our lives. I suggest in today and tomorrow's study of the 11th letter that we look at it as something above us, beyond us, and that when we know that there's something so lofty and that we're not really there or maybe even close to being there, that's okay. We understand we have to move in that direction. That's what's important. This epistle, this letter, is known as Lahaskil Chabina, to enlighten you with understanding. That the path to have the light of God dwell within the individual is not by desiring life of the flesh and family life and children and sustenance. In other words, to desire those things, crave those things, no. But to want them for purposeful need is a different story. And this is a deeper meaning of what our sages say. Nullify your will out of deference to the will of God. Meaning, on a deeper level, have no will for anything except for that which is the will of God. Have no desire for any worldly matters. Included is family life, life itself, and health, livelihood, sustenance. That's all included. Even though they're essential, and they even affect our divine service when we don't have those things, but not to desire them for themselves, but only on how they help us in our purpose in life and our spiritual tasks in life to be fulfilled. So therefore, nullifying your own wish, in other words, to have them for your own personal needs to be fulfilled, pleasures to be had, no, nullify that. Nullify that it should be only for your purpose, only for a higher purpose in life. And that's further what our sages explain, that against your will do you live. What is the spirit of that idea? The spirit of that idea is the things that is about living, meaning corporeal aspects of life of of the flesh, should be contrary to your will, against your will. In other words, you have no interest in that. Oh, it's lunch. Oh, it's dinner. Whatever it is, you have no interest in that. Doesn't mean you don't eat lunch. It doesn't mean you don't eat dinner. It means you're using it merely as a means to divine service. So again, I just can't overemphasize how this is a very lofty level. It's one thing that we do the mitzvahs, but that doesn't mean that at the same time that we have also desires for, having nice family life, so life will be pleasant for me. Having nice, good health, so life will be pleasant for me. No, that's normal. That's normal because that's normal of the human condition. Here, the Alter Rebbe is setting the bar to a very lofty level. Again, it's not about getting there. It's an ideal. that I don't think we will reach, but at least we know the direction that we need to go towards. Which the importance over here is having or have not when it comes to material things, things of the flesh, mundane things, having or having not, you have an equanimity. So whether you have or you don't have, it's the same. Which is quite an achievement. So we could, on some level, have an awareness, and so you didn't get what you wanted. You're just as happy. How are you going to achieve this? How could this be achieved? So explains the Alter Rebbe. When we have absolute belief in Yotzer Bereshis, which is a phrase from the Aleinu prayer, which is the one who forms from the beginning of creation, Reshis, meaning beginning, but also Reshis means Chachma, because Chachma, divine wisdom, is the first of the 10 divine attributes. So when you believe, really believe, in God as creator, and that he creates the world, the Yesh Mi'ayin, something from nothing. That's what's called Reshis, Chachma. Right? In other words, before the world was created, there was nothing, no thing, period. Excuse me. Before he creates the world, there was no thing, nothing, non-beings. And then he creates into being, in existence. We can't comprehend that because there's nothing that we do that is of that nature. This is a divine attribute, sphera of Chachma. And in the end, it's not something that we can apprehend. Even our own Chachma, we don't apprehend. God's Chachma is but infinitely more beyond our comprehension. And this creation, though, happens at all time, every moment. God is creating ex nihilo, me, you, the entire universe, the world that is unfolding right before me. That's where it's coming from. God's wisdom, which he animates everything. And as we've learned before, that the power of God needs to be constantly in the created being, otherwise it will return and revert to its original form of nothingness. So God is constantly creating the universe anew from nothingness, from ayin, from chachma, every moment. Now, when an individual will contemplate and really appreciate this, understand this, and really appreciate this, right? And picture in your mind how you come into being ex nihilo, something from nothing, every moment. That means God, this moment, is creating me. Then how could I suffer? How could I have a thought of suffering or any affliction that would be related to children, family life, health itself, sustenance, livelihood, or whatever other worldly sufferings? Because at this moment, what is the source of my being? God's divine wisdom. Yes, I can't comprehend it, but it is God's divine wisdom, right? The source of my life right now. And therefore, there's only goodness and delight. It is the Eden that transcends even the world to come. The only difficulty is that we don't apprehend this because it's coming from divine chachma. It's not coming from from God's bina, which is an understanding. It's beyond that. Therefore, since we can't comprehend it, we imagine the suffering to be an affliction. And we suffer as a result. But in truth, however, no evil descends from above. No negativity descends from above. Everything is but good. Again, even though we don't apprehend it, we don't understand it, because it's an immense goodness. It's an abundant light of God, like a strong sun that's blinding. But in the end, it is but good. This is the essence of what's called emunah, a faith, for which we were created for. To believe that there is no place that's void of God. God is everywhere. And not only is God everywhere, but in the light of the King's countenance, there is life. There is life. And accordingly, as a result, there's strength and gladness in the place where God is. Meaning, every moment is a Kodak moment. Kodak went out of business, but the moment didn't go out of business, because this moment is brought to you by, in living color, by God Almighty, Yoetze Bereshis, the one who brings into creation from his divine wisdom that we do not apprehend and comprehend, but it is coming from him, this very moment, my life, that he is creating and recreating something from nothing. Every moment. That now, in this moment, he's there. And therefore, it can only be but good. That's what we believe. That's a very high bar to live by every single moment. But when we strive in that direction, imagine the equanimity we take upon, or we live with, whatever challenge, difficulty, pain, we don't suffer, because it's only but good. Any questions, any comments, any thoughts? All right. Beautiful. I don't see any questions. I guess just clarity. Again, this is a very lofty level. The bar is very high. We will not live this moment to moment this way. But if there's another incident today that you go through, that you got pained, and you recall and meditate upon this, that this right now is coming to me by God Almighty, a living moment, a color, a moment of a Kodak moment that God is creating. Because it's coming from God, therefore it's got to be good. I'm blinded. I don't see the good. It doesn't feel good. We nullify our will. We know that it's just good. And we respond accordingly. That's the key. The response that we will have to that situation will be very different. Try to live with that one time today. Okay. Oh, Sivya. Any practical tools that we can use to implement this in our daily lives? Someone said something to you nasty. Someone will say something to you nasty. Someone will look at you maybe in a judgmental way. You will have a huge challenge that seems very painful, and you take a deep breath and think, God is animating this situation and me at this very moment. Something from nothing. And it's coming from His divine wisdom. I don't comprehend His divine wisdom, but I know that's where it's coming from. I really believe that. And therefore, this moment is only but good. It might be a blinding good, as sometimes you look at the sun and it can be blinding, but good nonetheless it is. And therefore, I'm accepting this as only but good. And therefore, I'm going to have strength and gladness in this very moment, in this very great challenge that's before me. And that's how I'm going to respond. That's practical. That's real. Takes effort. We got to look inside of us. Can't point fingers elsewhere. But we can get there if we so choose. Rachel, is accepting all things including physical suffering with joy the correct way to live through it? Exactly. That's with strength and gladness, because you know that this is coming from God. Even if it came from another person who chose to do something wrong, the fact that it affected me means it came from God. So therefore I take it as it is from God. Now that doesn't mean we embrace that other person necessarily, right? That person's an abuser, is abusing our family. So, then that person may have to be outside of the family unit. That's not the point here. The point here is, how am I taking it? How am I dealing with it? Is this trauma? Can there be trauma if God is creating this moment? No. If God is creating this moment, something from nothing, which is the basic belief that we have, emunah, the basic belief that this is coming, and where it's coming from is a place that's beyond that I can comprehend, from God's divine wisdom that is not apprehendable, yet it is coming from Him, this very situation, this very moment, and therefore I take it without trauma. Not only I take it without trauma, I take it with strength and gladness of heart, knowing that this is coming from Him. Could be through another individual, but the fact that I'm facing it means it was coming from Him, and He's creating this moment. It's a Kodak moment. Therefore, there won't be any trauma. Imagine when dealing with trauma, you say you can do this for yourself. Now, for another person who is feeling the trauma, we should not diminish what they're feeling. We shouldn't build it up and make it worse, make it more traumatic. But if they're not holding by this truth, then that's a different approach. Can't give them these teachings in the moment that they're feeling trauma. But right now, we're not in trauma. Right now, we're learning Tanya. So we can prepare ourselves for the traumatic things that might happen to us and deal with it in a matter of equanimity, that it won't hurt me, it won't affect me in a negative way, because I'm going to have strength and gladness. Because God is creating this moment, it's a Kodak moment, and therefore it's only but good. Because from God only comes good. Might be a blinding good, but good nonetheless. Elise, how do you deal with terrible things like terrorism, murders, Holocaust in that light? Again, we're only talking about how to deal it for yourself. How to be empathetic for another, it's a different story, and we're not going there right now. Our concern is for ourselves right now. How terrorism affects somebody else, how murder and Holocaust, all these things. Good question, but that's not the issue at hand, and I want to make sure that the issue at hand is absorbed properly. So let's just stick with that right now. So David asks a very good question. What happens if you got that strength and that gladness in God's place and the situation doesn't change? That's an excellent question. Let me ask a question. We're going to answer, we're going to deal with it more tomorrow, that question. Excellent question. But are you having strength and gladness because through this you hope to have a better conclusion? If yes, then you don't really have strength and gladness, and it's not authentic. This needs to be authentic. If you really believe that God is creating this moment, something from nothing, and it's coming from his divine chachma, with wisdom that is beyond my comprehension, so I don't understand, that's okay. But I believe that it is only but good. This moment is a Kodak moment, and therefore I'm able to have strength and gladness in how I deal with this person, with this situation, with this moment. It won't be traumatic. It won't even be difficult. It'll actually be strengthening of me with real gladness of heart. Amazing, amazing. All your questions and your, yeah. All right, folks. You're all amazing. Rambam coming up. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zich and Kadesh in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you. Tanya, have an amazing day. A reminder, tomorrow there'll be TRC, Tanya Rabbi Community, at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please do come and join us. For those not yet a part of our community, reach out. You want to experience it. Have an amazing, great day.